announcing today a major show of military force in the region.
In the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most crucial maritime chokepoints, the stakes have never been higher. Every day, over 20% of the world's oil passes through this vital corridor, making it a strategic linchpin for global energy security. But what happens when tensions rise, and what seems like a routine operation turns into a life-or-death confrontation? Imagine this. At 2:41 p.m., a U.S. Navy carrier strike group begins its transit through the strait. What should be a routine freedom of navigation operation quickly turns tense as Iranian coastal radar activity spikes. The radar signals are just the beginning. A missile threat is emerging, and time is running out for those on board the U.S. vessels. Every second counts as decisions that could have global consequences are made in real time. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just a busy waterway. It's a place where geopolitical power plays out every day. The situation becomes more dangerous by the minute, with Iranian forces ready to engage. A coordinated missile threat is forming, and the pressure is on. How will the U.S. Navy respond in such a confined space, where every move is critical and the margin for error is razor thin? In this video, we'll break down exactly how modern naval forces protect themselves from rapidly escalating threats, using layered missile defense systems, shared sensor networks, and rapid, second-by-second decision-making. What happens when multiple anti-ship missiles surge toward a single high-value target? How do commanders react when faced with overwhelming odds? We'll also explore how such a confrontation could unfold in real-life conditions, with a detailed analysis of the systems at play. We'll look at the strategic importance of the region and the broader implications of any conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. The impact of a single misstep could ripple across the globe, affecting everything from oil prices to international relations. But there's more at stake than just military might. The decisions made here will determine whether this confrontation escalates into a full-scale conflict or whether cooler heads prevail. How can rapid defensive responses help de-escalate the situation, or do they risk further provocation? Can these defensive actions prevent an outright military clash, or do they increase the likelihood of long-term instability? In the next few minutes, we'll dive deep into the mechanics of modern military warfare in one of the world's most dangerous maritime zones. From cutting-edge missile defense systems to the crucial role of shared intelligence networks, we'll give you a clear, in-depth breakdown of this high-stakes scenario. And by the end, we'll ask the question, do these rapid defensive responses in the Strait of Hormuz help prevent escalation, or do they create more risk for the future? Stay tuned as we navigate through the tension, the technology, and the high-stakes decisions that shape the fate of this critical region. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical maritime choke points in the world, and its significance extends far beyond just geography. Located between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula, it connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, ultimately linking the Middle East to global shipping lanes. More than 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow waterway every day, making it not only a key player in global trade, but also a region of intense geopolitical importance. If anything were to disrupt the flow of goods and energy resources through this strait, the consequences would reverberate around the world, affecting everything from fuel prices to political stability. The importance of the Strait of Hormuz cannot be overstated. Its waters carry the lifeblood of the global economy. A single disruption could send shockwaves through energy markets, causing ripple effects across industries and impacting daily life on a global scale. Tensions in the region have been mounting for years, with both military and diplomatic confrontations regularly flaring up. Iran, which controls the northern coastline of the strait, has long used the threat of closing the passage as a bargaining chip in its dealings with the West. The strait's narrow width, with some sections barely 30 miles across, makes it an ideal location for a military standoff. Should a conflict erupt in these waters, naval forces from all over the world would be drawn into a complex, high-stakes confrontation. While much of the tension is driven by geopolitical rivalries, another factor fueling the volatility of the region is the ongoing presence of military forces. both the United States and Iran maintain a significant naval presence in the region, with each side closely monitoring the other's activities. In fact, a recent report from a military intelligence source suggested that Iran has been ramping up its naval capabilities, deploying more advanced missile systems along its coastlines, particularly in the Strait of Hormuz. These missile systems, capable of targeting both naval and air assets, pose a major challenge to any military force attempting to transit the region. With such high stakes, it's no surprise that the U.S. Navy regularly conducts freedom of navigation operations through the Strait of Hormuz, ensuring that the passage remains open and secure. These operations are a vital part of the U.S. military strategy to maintain global shipping lanes free from restriction. However, the increased presence of Iranian forces has made these operations significantly more dangerous. A number of near-miss incidents have been reported, with both sides accusing each other of provocative actions. For example, just last year, U.S. Navy ships were nearly struck by an Iranian missile test while transiting the strait. Though the missiles missed their targets, the incident heightened fears of an accidental escalation, which could have triggered a full-scale conflict. Yet beyond these surface-level skirmishes, the Strait of Hormuz is home to more than just military posturing. The global ramifications of any conflict here are far-reaching. The region is central to energy security, with millions of barrels of oil and natural gas passing through each day. A military confrontation could easily destabilize global oil prices, leading to an economic shock felt worldwide. In fact, a report from the International Energy Agency last year revealed that even brief disruptions in the flow of oil through the strait could cause a 10% spike in global oil prices. For oil-dependent nations, particularly those in Asia and Europe, such a spike could lead to significant economic hardship. The energy-dependent economies of countries like Japan, China, and India would feel the impact most keenly, as they rely on the uninterrupted flow of oil through the strait for their industrial and energy needs. These nations, along with the United States and European powers, are closely monitoring the situation, knowing that any misstep could send their economies into turmoil. But the importance of the Strait of Hormuz is not confined solely to its role as a global energy conduit. It also plays a crucial part in maintaining regional stability. The Middle East has long been a powder keg of political tension, and the strait serves as both a symbol and a flashpoint of that tension. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Oman, which share borders with the strait, have a vested interest in keeping the passage open and secure. Any conflict in the region could easily spill over into neighboring countries, exacerbating an already volatile situation. The presence of multiple military actors, from the US to Iran and other regional powers, has turned the strait into a high-stakes chessboard where every move could have catastrophic consequences. In conclusion, the Strait of Hormuz is not just a waterway. It is the lifeblood of the global economy, a flashpoint of geopolitical tension, and a symbol of the fragile balance of power in the Middle East. With military forces regularly maneuvering through its waters and political tensions rising, the region has become one of the most dangerous and unpredictable places on Earth. The global community watches closely, knowing that the smallest spark in these waters could ignite a fire with consequences far beyond the strait itself. On a bright, calm afternoon at 2:41 p.m., a U.S. Navy carrier strike group, comprising the aircraft carrier USS Freedom, along with several destroyers and support ships, begins its routine transit through the Strait of Hormuz. This mission, known as a freedom of navigation operation, is a regular exercise in asserting international rights to sail through one of the world's most critical maritime chokepoints. The passage through this narrow waterway, which spans only 33 miles at its most narrow point, is vital not just for the U.S. Navy, but for global shipping. However, on this particular day, the situation begins to take a sharp turn toward danger. From the moment the carrier group enters the strait, the tension becomes palpable. Iranian radar stations, strategically positioned along the coast, begin to track the movement of the U.S. ships with increasing precision. At first, these are just routine readings, but by 2:47 p.m., intelligence officers aboard the USS Freedom report unusual spikes in radar activity coming from the Iranian-controlled coastline. This is the first sign of an imminent threat. By 3 p.m., an encrypted transmission comes through to the U.S. Command Center. It appears that Iran has activated multiple anti-ship missile batteries in the region, something not done in recent months. The Navy's integrated satellite surveillance systems confirm the presence of these missile systems, which are capable of launching a variety of advanced anti-ship missiles, including the Chinese-made C-802, which has been adapted by Iranian forces for use in this very region. These missiles are not just theoretically capable of striking ships from miles away. They've been used with alarming accuracy in the past. Only 2 months ago, an Iranian C-802 missile struck a commercial vessel near the strait, highlighting the precision of these weapons and the seriousness of the threat posed. The U.S. command is now on high alert, fully aware that the situation has escalated. The decision-making process becomes a race against time. If these missile systems were to launch, the carrier strike group could be at risk within minutes. U.S. Navy warships are equipped with advanced radar and electronic warfare systems. But these new Iranian tactics, using a combination of radar jamming and decoy missile launches, pose a serious challenge. In this high-stakes environment, the Navy's decision-makers have to evaluate every piece of intelligence and every signal with extreme caution. The most crucial moment comes at 3:15 p.m., when U.S. Navy radar detects a launch from the Iranian coast. The missile is confirmed to be a modified C-802, and it is headed straight toward the USS Freedom, now positioned at the heart of the strike group. The decision to deploy countermeasures is immediate. The USS Freedom activates its Phalanx Close-In Weapons System, CIWS, which begins firing rapidly at the incoming missile. However, there is a catch. The ship's CIWS is designed to intercept incoming threats, but a single missile is not always the only danger. As intelligence reports indicate, there are at least 4 other missiles launched simultaneously, each targeting different high-value assets within the carrier strike group. The situation quickly turns chaotic. Commanders aboard the USS Freedom now have to consider the risks of a full-scale military confrontation with Iran. The likelihood of multiple missile launches in quick succession, combined with the narrow and congested waters of the strait, means that the U.S. Navy's ability to defend itself is severely challenged. Time is running out for decision-makers, who must now choose between escalating the situation and risking a major military conflict or attempting to counter the missiles with limited resources. As the missiles streak toward their targets, the U.S. Navy's advanced radar and defense systems work in tandem to counter each threat. But the complexity of the situation suggests that a few missiles will likely slip through the defenses. At 3:25 p.m., the first of the anti-ship missiles is intercepted, but the second missile, which has been fired at the USS Fury, a destroyer in the strike group, is on track to hit its target. Just moments before impact, the ship's crew activates its own defensive systems, launching a series of decoy flares to confuse the missile. The missile deviates, but only narrowly avoids the ship. The destroyer's crew breathes a collective sigh of relief, but this close call serves as a grim reminder of how quickly the situation could have spiraled out of control. As the missiles fall harmlessly into the water or are intercepted, the U.S. Navy breathes a momentary sigh of relief. However, the bigger picture remains. The missile attack was not just a routine drill. It was a calculated maneuver aimed at testing the resolve and reaction time of the United States. Iran's military has long used this kind of strategy to intimidate Western forces. But this time, the escalation came perilously close to an outright confrontation. The Freedom of Navigation operation, once thought to be a standard exercise, has now turned into a tense standoff, one that could ignite a much larger conflict. The U.S. Navy will continue to navigate the strait, but each subsequent operation will be watched more closely, both by Iran and by the rest of the world. As the situation in the Strait of Hormuz escalates, the response from the U.S. Navy and its defense systems becomes paramount. The time to act is now, and the coordinated efforts of the Navy's layered missile defense and shared sensor networks are the key to surviving an increasingly dangerous confrontation. The first line of defense, integrated into the carrier strike group, consists of several advanced systems designed to intercept and neutralize incoming threats. However, as Iran launches its missile barrage, the challenge of protecting the fleet intensifies. The Navy's multi-layered missile defense system begins to come into play immediately. The Aegis ballistic missile defense system aboard the USS Freedom and its accompanying ships is activated. Aegis, one of the most advanced radar and missile defense systems in the world, has the capability to detect and track multiple incoming threats simultaneously. This system is built to operate at incredibly high speeds, analyzing and predicting missile trajectories and potential interception points in a matter of seconds. The USS Freedom's Aegis system quickly locks onto the first of the Iranian missiles, which is speeding toward the carrier at Mach 3. At the same time, the USS Vanguard, a guided missile destroyer in the strike group, focuses its Aegis system on the second missile, which is targeting one of the support ships. The coordinated response is essential, as every missile could potentially cripple a high-value target, leaving the group vulnerable to further strikes. The Aegis system uses its long-range radar to create a precise threat assessment. In this case, the first missile is intercepted 30 miles from the carrier by a Standard Missile 3, SM-3, which obliterates the incoming threat before it has a chance to cause any damage. But the victory is short-lived. As the interception occurs, the second missile, now confirmed to be an anti-ship variant of the Iranian-made C-802, continues on its course toward the USS Vanguard. This missile is known for its sophisticated maneuvering capabilities, designed to evade interception by taking unpredictable flight paths. This forces the USS Vanguard to switch to its close-in defense system, the Phalanx CIWS, which is designed to handle high-speed, maneuverable targets in close range. The Phalanx system quickly locks onto the missile, and within seconds, the ship's Gatling gun opens fire, unleashing a barrage of 20mm shells that shred the missile into pieces, preventing any catastrophic damage to the ship. But even with these advanced systems in place, the situation is far from resolved. The Iranian missile threat doesn't end with the first few launches. By 3:30 p.m., intelligence reports confirm that multiple Iranian drones are entering the strait, carrying additional payloads of smaller anti-ship missiles. These drones, although not as formidable as the larger cruise missiles, present a new and dangerous challenge. The drones are fast, elusive, and capable of carrying multiple payloads, and with their smaller size, they can avoid detection by the Navy's larger radar systems. The USS Freedom and its accompanying ships are now forced to shift from missile defense to counter-drone operations. The Navy's integrated sensor network becomes crucial in detecting these incoming threats. The system uses a combination of infrared and visual sensors, including advanced satellite feeds and surveillance from Allied ships, to pinpoint the location of the drones. The decision is made to deploy anti-drone countermeasures, with the Freedom launching several smaller surface-to-air missiles designed specifically for these types of threats. One of the drones is destroyed at 3:40 p.m., but the remaining drones continue to circle, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The complex network of sensors plays a pivotal role in this defense, as it allows U.S. Navy assets to share critical intelligence with one another in real time. This collaborative data sharing is what sets the U.S. Navy's defenses apart from those of other nations. By 3:45 p.m., the USS Vanguard has locked onto another drone, and this time, the ship's CIWS is activated once again. The rapid firing of 20mm rounds neutralizes the drone in a matter of seconds. However, just as the drone threat is seemingly neutralized, a new problem arises. The Strait of Hormuz, as mentioned earlier, is only 33 miles wide at its narrowest point, and with the increasing military activity, space in the strait is becoming extremely limited. Both U.S. Navy ships and Iranian assets are maneuvering within a dangerously small area, creating a perfect storm for further escalation. The U.S. Navy's commanders must now make quick decisions about their next steps. The confined space means that their options are limited, and every maneuver carries the potential to escalate the situation. One of the most pressing concerns is whether to continue with the freedom of navigation operation or to pull back and regroup. A decision is made to press forward, but the U.S. Navy increases its vigilance, deploying additional reconnaissance assets to monitor Iranian movements. These assets include surveillance aircraft and unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, capable of gathering detailed intelligence about Iran's military activities. With this intelligence, U.S. Navy forces can anticipate Iranian actions and adjust their own strategies accordingly. However, by 4 p.m., Iranian forces begin to send out small, fast attack boats, which attempt to swarm the U.S. vessels. These boats, often carrying explosives or light anti-ship missiles, are a significant threat in such confined waters.